it feels like we're in a leadership crisis where I don't care if you're on the left and you hate the right, or you're on the right and you hate the left, or I don't care if you're super progressive or super Christian conservative. It feels like everybody, in my opinion, it feels like everybody is trying to manipulate you, not lead you. And so can you talk a little bit maybe either about the leadership crisis, or is there a tie-in here with kind of, the social media generation and stuff? What is causing, and by the way, I also realize that we have a recency bias where we see real negative stuff in the recent and we look in the past and we're like, oh, well, John F. Kennedy was such a great statesman and a leader. It's like, well, he was also philandering around and, he wasn't exactly a great human being either. But, it does feel like maybe an older generation of leader or statesmen or CEOs, they were more about the leadership and less about the manipulation. And again, maybe I'm just making that up in my head, but are these some observations that you're also seeing?
Yeah. And that's why, like what we just talked about, I know I spent some time on it, but it's kind of a setup for this is that I think a lot of that, when you try to manipulate someone else, just think about your own life, right? When you feel like I need to manipulate somebody else, what's your motive, right? It's you want to control, right? You want it to go a certain way. But what is it saying about you when you are trying to manipulate someone else?
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking about my 5-year-old. When I want to manipulate him into doing something, it's just because I'm selfish and I want it done my way and I don't really care about his opinion. I just want to get back to doing whatever I was doing.
And that's like sales, right? A lot of sales manipulation in terms of like, I want the sale. How do I get them to see things my way so that I can get what I want? And it's really coming from a place of scarcity. And so it comes back to identity. Where does your identity come from? Who do you see yourself as? Because if I see myself as not enough, and I actually believe that as kids, we learn certain things from our childhood, even if you had a great childhood. I know people that had great childhoods and they still messed up in some ways, right? There's like this primary lie that we get, and it has to do with being not enough. Now, if a baby, you look at a brand new baby, they're born, they're cute, usually they're cute and they're cuddly, and you're just like so happy that this, they don't need to earn love, they don't need to do anything, they're just precious because they exist. But over time, that baby starts to learn that, wow, I'm not this, I'm not that. It's almost like I believe it's like this devil literally on our shoulders going, see that? See, you're not enough. You're not enough. You're not significant. You're not important. You're not loved. See, mom and dad, they divorced. That was because your fault. How many times do we hear that, right? Kids actually interpret how is it possible that a child can think that the divorce was caused by them? But a lot of kids do, right? So, or they go to school and maybe their kids, the kids at school make fun of them. What does that say? So they're making these meanings. Like you talk about the story, they're building this story, and kids are kind of like this blank slate. So they're absorbing all of this and learning a product of their own environment. So this primary lie, no matter and I think based on personality, it's going to sound different, but it's always comes down to a not enough. Now, if I believe that I'm not enough, then it's like, I will be enough if I do this. I will be enough if I get this person to like me or to love me, then I'll be enough. Right. If I have the success, comes back to those, those A's that I was talking about, right? The accolades and the accomplishments and all of that. And so what we're seeing right now is I think there's a lot of grown-up children that are having a scarcity and not enough conversation. Mm-hmm. Because if I'm enough, I don't need to control anybody. Yeah. If I'm enough, I'm not at risk when somebody says something negatively about me, because they don't define me. And I know that because I'm enough. Right. So what we're seeing right now is that's like a fundamental issue, is that there's a lot of scarcity and competing, right? Win, lose. This person says this. Well, and politics is designed that way. I had a guy on my podcast, Dr. Louis Rosenberg, and he developed some software called Unanimous AI. to help make decisions. And he was talking about polls. And he says polls are actually designed to divide us because they show us how we are different, not how we're the similar, right? Not how we can unify. They're actually designed to, they're like, well, this group says this and that group says that. What do you mean you think that way? How can you possibly think that way? You're crazy. I'm educated. I've done my research, blah, 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 blah. I'll go back and forth, right? You see all that. So, but
guilty, by the way, guilty on Facebook myself sometimes. So,
right. Well, and it's a natural thing, right? But if I look at it and I say, hey, I have a certain viewpoint and I have a very dear friend of mine who is on the opposite side of that. Now I can still be friends with her and she can still be friends with me because we know who we are, right? At least I can only speak for myself, right? Is that I'm not threatened by her viewpoint, even though I don't agree with it. I'm not threatened by it, right? But if I'm not enough and I have to prove myself and I have to be validated by somebody else and what they're saying, that would make me very frustrated, right? Like, don't you get this? Come on, like I need to watch this other more. I got these doctors I want you to listen to and da 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 and so forth, right? Because you've got to get this. Because when you get this, it means something to me. So is it important for us to find some unity, find the point of agreement? Look, sales, business, you got to find the point of agreement. So I think one of the things that we're not seeing is finding the point of agreement. I believe that if you think about all the people in the world, even the crazies, okay, there's maybe some standing outside this, there's always those anomalies, but really everybody really wants to be loved. They want to be respected. They want to have a good life for themselves and those they care about. Now, some think that in order to do that, I've got to kill those other people so that I can have that. Right? But if we actually get to the point where we all realize we actually want the same thing, and then we can figure out the how, we might go a lot further than fighting and trying to convince and yelling across the way to the other person going, you're idiots. That it never worked in sales for me. It doesn't work in leadership. It's not going to work in politics. It just doesn't work, right? You've got to start bringing people over, and gradually moving them. It's actually, there's a spectrum. I think it's called Spectrum of Social Activism or something like that. It was Martin Luther King who developed it. Another podcast guest talked about it and said that, you don't try to get people from the far other side to move over. What you're doing is you're having people just move gradually over. Now they're doing that right now to us. Okay. Right. That's already happening, but they're doing it for their own agenda, right? They're doing it because they want us. They have a certain, certain
desired outcome.
Certain desired outcome, and so, but if we actually come together and we start to see that, what if we actually all agree with the fact that we all want the same thing? Then we got to figure out how we do that. We might have a little bit more effective conversation, if you will. So anyway, I kind of went off on a tangent there, but
no, I love it because